Hi, my name's Adam, and I'm the ugliest guy in town. But I managed to get the best looking wife. Before I tell you how it happened, please remember to like and subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up and hit that notification bell icon to show your support for me. It all started when I made that order at the drive-thru on that fateful day. "Can I take your order, sir?" the lady on the drive-thru intercom asked. "Yes, I'll have a large fry and large black coffee." "Will that be all?" the lady asked in an annoyed, exhausted tone. "No. Do you serve burgers?" I asked. "Obviously, we aren't called Burger Duke for nothing," she replied sarcastically. "Great. I'll have a large fry and a large black coffee and 2 burgers," I said. "That's it, sir?" she asked. "Yes, that will be all," I said. "Drive straight to the window and pick up your order," she said in a slightly less annoyed tone. "Oh my God!" the man exclaimed as I drove up to the next window. "Wait a second! Hold up. Beatrice? Beatrice? You gotta take a look at this guy. Oh my God!" I could hear him say right in front of me, as if I didn't exist, as he called more people over to gawk at my hideous complexion. You see, I've been living with a skin condition my entire life, which meant I didn't even consider myself on the 1 to 10 scale of rankings, and sadly, this exchange was nothing new for me. I sat there waiting for my order, as every member of their staff tried to take a selfie with me, now known as the Beast. I was livid, but more than livid. I felt humiliated, defeated, crushed. Just another day living in my skin, I thought. It's a nightmare. Some kid in the parking lot dropped his ice cream when he looked up and saw my face. An old lady even made the sign of the cross at me as she noticed me looking her way. I thought I could take no more, when suddenly, from somewhere behind me, a siren flashed. The siren went off again, and quickly the commotion drew to an end as the staff scurried away like roaches from the sudden flash of light. I was planning to wait until I got home to enjoy my hard-earned meal, but I was feeling so downtrodden and ravished after that encounter that I couldn't stop myself from plowing straight into my burgers. I was so entranced by my meal that I didn't even notice the police car right behind me. After a while, I noticed that the police car was trying to pull me over, so she flashed her sirens at me. Great, I thought. What else could brighten my day more than a ticket on top of my already miserable day? As I pulled over, the most beautiful woman I have ever seen came up to my window, dressed in a police uniform. Is this real? I thought. Am I dreaming right now? I wondered, pinching myself on my leg. Ow! I said under my breath. "Do you know why I pulled you over, sir?" she asked. No, I didn't do anything wrong," I replied as I admired her intensely beautiful physique. "You were going at a very low speed, and I was worried that you were driving too slow because you're drunk," she said. I'm not drunk. I'm just hungry, so I was just taking my time," I replied. "Would you mind stepping out of the car?" the stunning Grecian goddess asked. Sure," I replied as I stepped out of the car. The cop came close to me and smelled my breath. She leaned in close, and her beautiful face was right next to mine. Luckily, my breath smelled like coffee and not beer or whiskey. "You're not drunk, but you were going very slow," she said. "I can't give you a ticket, but I would like to talk to you for a little while, if that's all right with you," she said as she started to walk back to her car. Not really leaving me any choice, I shut off my car, locked up, and walked over to her top-of-the-line Mustang. I got into the passenger side and we began talking. "Is this standard protocol?" I asked. "Am I under arrest? What's happening?" I continued to ask frantically. Almost in tears, I was already picturing the headlines now. "Hideous Beast arrested for being too ugly and scaring kids at local drive-thru." "No, but then, is there really such a thing as standard?" she replied, sounding way too philosophical for a small-town cop. "You're not under arrest, but I would like you to listen to me before you go about your day," she continued. "My name is Sandra, and I just moved here from a small town in the Midwest." She told me that she became a police officer because she always wanted to help people and save lives. She also told me that she recently lost her husband in a tragic car accident a few months before, and that she wanted to get away from it all, so she moved here looking for a new start in an unfamiliar place where nobody would know her or expect anything from her. This is crazy, I thought, as all I could say is, I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you, she replied, tears now clearly welling up in her gorgeous eyes. I thought perhaps sharing my story might help you feel better about your day so far, she said, with genuine concern on her face. I saw everything that happened at the drive-thru, and I was the one that flashed my siren, she said. Of course, I thought. Why had I not made that connection? I wondered. Thank you, I replied, wondering why she was being so nice to me. I was suddenly overcome with emotion. Here I was in this gorgeous goddess's company, and all she cared about was making me feel better. I wanted to lean over and embrace her more than anything, and in that moment, for the first time in my short and miserable life, that's what I did. Who cares about the rules and socially acceptable norms? I exclaimed suddenly as I leaned over to embrace her passionately, when suddenly out of nowhere, a car sped by, and I watched as she instantaneously transformed into a demon in front of my very eyes. No, not a literal demon, duh, but she had a fiery intensity, suddenly spring to life in her previous endearing eyes. And I swore, right then and there, to never, ever evoke that emotion within her. In less than a second, her Mustang roared to life, and we were in hot pursuit. Now, given this town was really quiet, so there wasn't much to avoid on the road. But even so, my heart was racing as she drifted around corners expertly and evaded obstacles without even flinching. At one point, she suddenly locked onto me with her intense gaze, while still managing to maintain perfect control of the vehicle. I'm so sorry for endangering you like this, she shouted, but I will never tolerate such reckless driving on my roads, she continued, with some semblance of humanity before turning back into full focus frenzy mode. It was 5 minutes later before other cops showed up to help, and after what felt like a lifetime, we came to as abrupt a halt as when all of this started. Get down, stay down, and don't get shot, she shouted at me as she leapt out of the door and sped off towards the vehicle, moving around erratically to avoid potential gunfire. Luckily, it seems like the suspect was a stormtrooper, since not a single shot hit the mark. And before I knew it, she had the suspect in handcuffs and had recited his rights. She gently helped him into the back seat of the backup officer's vehicle before returning to the Mustang. Well, that was a little bit more intense than I was expecting on a first date, I chuckled nervously as she got into the driver's seat again. Date, huh? She asked. Well, I've never had a date without a meal, she said. Perhaps we could visit this little place I frequent, she continued with a sly grin on her face. Without another word, she started the car again, and we set off to who knows where. It was only when we pulled into the parking lot when I started to realize what had happened. You see, the place we were going to was the very same burger joint I was ridiculed at earlier. It turns out the man who was arrested had just robbed this place, and Sandra needed to take some statements from the staff. It was beyond my wildest expectations when she beckoned over to me to follow her inside. The looks on their faces were priceless as I walked in side by side with the most angelic woman that had ever stepped foot in this podunk one-horse town. The fact that they had all just prior to our arrival been karmically punished by some entity unknown was just sugar on top. But what happened next was simply impossible for my brain to comprehend. Right there, right then, in front of all these people that made me feel like I was the biggest, ugliest loser, Sandra leaned over to me and planted a passionate, loving kiss right on my lips. Oh my god! Drive-thru pleb 1 gasped. Beatrice, are you seeing this? He asked. The beast turned out to be THE beast! He exclaimed, fainting into Beatrice's arms. I paid them no heed, of course, as right then, I could have died. Everybody and everyone from my past that had made me feel lesser for the way I looked on the outside disappeared in that instant, and I felt truly, really loved for the first time in my life. Not very long after that, I proposed to Sandra, and she accepted. We now lived together in a little fixer-upper cottage that we bought with our hard-earned wages, and every cent we spend feels like a token of our never-ending love for each other.